Well, let's turn to art, and in a digital world where social media allows all artists a platform to express themselves, just how important is it for women to be represented? Well, here to discuss the role of women in art, and in particular women from an ethnic minority, is Sophia Niazi, editor of the magazine Unk, and Fatuma Kayra, who is one of the publication's contributors. Welcome, ladies. Sophia, I'm just going to start with you. How did your magazine start, and why is it so important to women?
We started in 2012. I started it with two friends, Rose Nordin and Sabah Khan. Rose is a graphic designer and Sabah was an architect at the time. So we were all Muslim women, we were very creative. And I guess we wanted to create a platform where we could find other Muslim women and really find out what they were doing in art and kind of broaden the discussion, I suppose.
And Fatuma, I mean, how did you become involved? What's your background, and how did you first come to contribute for the magazine?
I'm a playwright, and the way that I got involved was through mutual friends and just seeing the amazing work and just wanting to be part of it. And so for me, it was about, as well as it being about the magazine, it was also about being part of a creative community where, you know, I've had lots of opportunities to do other creative projects as a result of being part of one of my kind.
Expressing your feelings through art, would that perhaps be something you wouldn't have had if not for Sophia's magazine?
I think I was already doing creative works before that, so I had written plays and I'd done performance poetry. But what One of My Kind has allowed for me to do is have a network of young artists, of creatives internationally, and having opportunity to be able to collaborate and work together, and also just having opportunities from I think that's one of the really great things, is being able to have your work seen or things that you've done seen, and then having other people respond to that, and then having creative projects develop from those encounters.
And we have one of those creative projects here. Can you just talk me through this image? This is yours.
Yes, this was taken by the photographer Isaac Kiriki. He's a Nairobi and London-based artist. He was mentored by Hassan Hijaj, who is an amazing international photographer. And so the idea behind this was thinking about 90s hip-hop culture, but also cyberpunk, and what would happen if that was then sort of put together with sort of Somali hijabi aesthetic. So on one side you've got me with a phone in my headscarf, and that's something that like lots of women in the Somali community do, is just like instead of having hands-free, just put a phone.
It's easy.
It's easy, yeah. And then there's the arm there which belongs to Sophie, and she's got a phone just tucked into her sleeve, and it's sort of a bit like just a bit of sort of thinking about cyber goth and cyberpunk, and so just thinking about if Muslim women sort of were in that space, how would that look?
Fantastic. What do you see next? How do you see it evolving from here?
Well, it's a really interesting time. Like the old gatekeepers, they don't seem to be as relevant as they were before. I see a lot more women curating exhibitions, making their own platforms, making videos, and really taking control.
Specifically, where would you like to see your magazine go in, say, the next 5 years, and the way it's forming at the moment?
Well, we'd like to branch out into different types of content, so maybe looking at video content as well, but just nurturing that community. And I mean, it's important to us, as well as having an online presence, to be having events and creating spaces where people can actually meet and create new collaborations.
Fatuma, yourself, do you see now more Muslim women becoming involved in art because of magazines like this, and because of women like you sort of leading the way?
I think that there are lots of Muslim women who are doing art all over the world, but what I think is really important is being able to then cultivate a creative community who can then collaborate with one another. And I think that's probably one of I think that's where I see the future going, is in terms of having more creative collaborations internationally with different artists across the world.
Sophia, not just Muslim women in general, do you think they were sort of overlooked in the art world for a number of years, and now due to things like your magazine's social media, I mean, you see everyone, all ages, really having a forum to showcase their art? It's so important, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely there has been a change, but I wouldn't overplay it. I mean, I still feel like the work of women is valued less in comparison to the work of men, and galleries are still full. You know, it's not an even amount of, you know, the proportion's not there yet. But definitely the need to have approval from men in order to get your work out there is not there anymore. So
thank you so much, ladies. Sophia Niazi and Fatuma Kayra, thank you so much for joining us on the programme.